You ever look around modern life and think, this feels like it should be illegal, but everyone's very calm about it, not dramatically illegal, not sirens, helicopters, chalk outline illegal, just administratively criminal. Like the kind of thing where if you explained it to someone from the past, they'd go,
"Sorry, who allowed that?"
And you'd have to say, "Oh no, everyone." Let's start with work in a reasonable world, and I know that's a bold opening premise, but in a reasonable world, if you stay loyal to a company, you should not become poorer over time. That feels like a low bar, yet here we are, because now we've invented pay compression, which sounds like a chiropractor move, but is actually a financial punishment. In the UK and US, internal pay rises average 2 to 4%, while external hires often receive 15 to 30% premiums. Studies from the Federal Reserve and UK ONS show long-tenured workers consistently earn less in real terms than job switchers. This is now openly acknowledged in HR literature as cost control. It's where the longer you stay at a company, the worse you're paid, relative to people who just walked in. The new guy turns up like,
"Hi, I don't know the systems, I don't know the people, and I break everything I touch."
Perfect. Here's 20 grand more than Steve.
Steve's been there 12 years, Steve trained him, Steve now reports to him, and if Steve complains, HR says,
"Well, Steve, you should be grateful you have stability."
Stability, that's corporate for
Sit still.
And while we're at work, unpaid overtime, we've normalised working for free. We took slavery, removed the chains, added Outlook, and called it professionalism. If you leave on time, people look at you like,
"Oh, half day?"
"No, Susan, I just completed the hours you legally bought." Then there's contracts. Telecom companies are my favourite criminals because they don't even pretend anymore. You sign a 2-year deal, price £30 a month, 2 years later, £80. No explanation, just vibes, and you get 1 day to cancel, one, not a window, a peephole. Miss it?
"Oh well, that's another £900, please."
If a man did this on a date, he'd be arrested for kidnapping. UK telecom contracts legally allow mid-contract price rises tied to CPI, RPI. Consumers often receive less than 30 days notice, buried in emails. Ofcom permits this provided the clause existed at sign-up, regardless of fairness. And cancelling? You don't cancel, you confess. They're like,
"So, why are you leaving?"
"I don't owe you closure. This isn't a relationship. You have been overcharging me for poor services, far below the advertised quality. You were a wire in my wall. And if you have a spare 4 hours, you can attempt to find a complaints line to escalate your concerns. It is you on hold on a premium rate call for 1 hour to get through to someone whose only concern is getting you off the phone as quickly as possible, which usually involves transfers to a dial tone. Then there's consent. Oh, we love consent now, except when we don't, because every service now says,
"Agree to our terms and conditions."
And by terms and conditions, they mean, may we observe your entire digital existence like Victorian naturalists?
Before you play this children's game, please allow us access to your data, your behavior, your contacts, third-party websites, and your soul. No problem.
You simply can't exist. That's not consent. That's extortion with branding. Major platforms require blanket T&Cs as a condition of existence. Past versions of gaming and tech T&Cs explicitly included access to third-party browsing behavior, metadata. From external apps, opt-out equals service denial, which legally bypasses meaningful consent standards. Now let's talk about the most insane one, the TV license. This is real, this isn't a joke premise. In the UK, there is a government-backed organisation that can harass you, threaten you, and send people to your house to make sure you're not using a product you didn't ask for. TV licensing can issue £1,000 fines. Enforcement includes home visits and court summons. It is the only consumer product in the UK enforced this way. Guilt is often presumed unless disproven. Imagine if Amazon did this.
"We have reason to believe you are not watching Prime. Prove you're not."
That's not a service. That's a hostage negotiation. Then healthcare. Dentistry on the NHS is a conceptual art piece. Over 13 million UK adults cannot access NHS dental care. Dentists are paid for procedures, not time, often below cost. Thousands of NHS-trained dentists now work outside dentistry. NHS satisfaction with dentistry is at record lows. It technically exists, like Bigfoot.
People say they've seen it, but no one you know has.
Dentists don't get paid for their time, just parts.
Please perform precision medical work at a financial loss.
Shockingly, no one signs up, and the government's response is,
We're very concerned about access.
no, you're not. If you were concerned, you'd pay them. Housing. Oh, housing. We didn't build enough homes, so instead of building more, we imported demand and then used public money to pay private landlords higher rent for the same properties. That's not a housing policy, that's money laundering with bricks. Housing benefit largely flows to private landlords, not tenants. A significant proportion of UK rental stock is owned by foreign individuals or funds. Rental profits routinely exit the UK economy. Public funds inflate rents rather than reduce them. And most of the profits leave the country, which is impressive. We've invented a system where the people born here can't afford to live here, while subsidising people who don't own here with money that exits here. That's not diversity, that's subtraction. And while we're on Labour, DE&I, beautiful branding, flawless, because if you question it, you're instantly a villain, but purely coincidentally, purely statistically, cosmically coincidentally, it arrived at the exact moment companies needed cheaper, more compliant labour. What are the chances statistically of mass immigration happening at the same time as DE&I? What if it's not a coincidence? People on visas accept less money, work longer hours, and more importantly, don't strike. Visa-tied employment reduces bargaining power. Labour economists openly acknowledge migrant labour suppresses wages. DE&I frameworks expanded alongside mass recruitment from abroad, not before. They don't complain, they don't risk HR meetings, because HR meetings mean flights, but if locals point this out...
Oh, you're privileged.
Yes, privileged to be broke, tired and unable to own anything. And inflation. In the 1990s, a can of Coke was 30p. Now it's £3. That's not inflation. That's Coke transitioning into a luxury asset. And it's not just Coke, it has happened to almost everything. It creates great situations when going to a food market in the city feels more like the Hunger Games. In the US, prices have risen about 155 to 160% between 1990 and 2025. That means something that cost $100 in 1990 costs roughly $255 to $260 today. Over this 35-year period, average inflation in the US has been around 2.6% per year, with relatively stable inflation from the 1990s through the 2010s, followed by sharp increases after 2020. Essentials like housing, healthcare, and education rose faster than overall inflation, while some non-essential goods, such as electronics, increased more slowly or even fell in real terms due to productivity gains. In the UK, inflation has been higher than the US over the same period. From 1990 to 2025, UK prices increased by roughly 190 to 200%, meaning £100 in 1990 now costs around £290 to £300. Long-term UK inflation averaged close to 3% per year, with particularly sharp rises during the late 2000s and again after 2021. Essentials such as housing, energy, food and transport rose significantly faster than wages, while many non-essential goods increased more slowly. UK inflation has been about 30 to 40 percentage points higher than US inflation since 1990. Both countries saw relatively stable prices from 1995 to 2019, followed by the fastest inflation in decades after 2020. In both economies, Essential living costs increased faster than headline inflation, placing greater pressure on households than CPI averages alone suggest. Since 1990, prices in both the UK and US have more than doubled, but the UK has experienced a steeper, long-term rise in the cost of living. For households, this means everyday essentials now cost 2.5 to 3 times more than they did in 1990, even before accounting for housing shortages or regional differences. Visa-tied employment reduces bargaining power. Labour economists openly acknowledge migrant labour suppresses wages. DE&I frameworks expanded alongside mass recruitment from abroad, not before. At this rate, in 10 years they'll keep it behind glass.
Sir, do you have an appointment?
The pound used to be worth $2. Now it's struggling to clear 120, which is fascinating because apparently we're richer than ever. In what? Exposure? Moving to transport, they keep raising road tax, insurance, fuel.
Use public transport.
Which they don't use, which doesn't work, which is late, which is overcrowded, which costs more than driving. It's not environmental policy, it's punishment for owning autonomy. Inflation has far outpaced wage growth for decades. Pound to dollar value has halved since the 1990s. Real purchasing power has declined even during GDP growth periods. You ever notice how food used to be? Food? Like in the 90s, you'd walk into a shop and buy an apple. That was it. No marketing meeting, no warning label. No, now with science. Sticker on it. Now you walk into a supermarket and it's like, here's an apple, sprayed, waxed, genetically re-engineered, flown 6,000 miles. The prize you win for suffering this reduction in quality, it costs £4. Meanwhile, the cheapest thing in the shop is a neon orange substance called cheese-adjacent product. Not cheese, not food, just an idea of what cheese used to be. And they go, hey, it's cheap? Yeah, because it's not from Earth. This stuff has ingredients like natural flavours, which is corporate for, we're not telling you. And here's the scam, this is the beautiful part. The food that's worse for you, more chemicals, more preservatives, more pesticide residue, that stuff gets more expensive every year. Then they point to the real food and go, oh, that's organic. Yeah, it's also what food was before you broke it. They're like, you want chicken without antibiotics? Sure, that'll be £12. £12? What's the chicken doing? Therapy? So now the deal is, eat garbage, get sick, pay later, or eat clean, go broke immediately. That's not a food system, that's a payment plan for dying slowly. And they tell you it's about choice. Yeah, you can choose between being poisoned affordably or surviving as a luxury experience. That's not capitalism, that's a hostage negotiation with your stomach. Over the last 30 to 35 years, food has become more expensive, more processed, and less nutritious, while genuinely healthy food has shifted from being affordable to being premium priced. In the early 1990s, a large share of everyday food, bread, dairy, meat, fruit, and vegetables was minimally processed and relatively affordable. Since then, the food system has shifted heavily toward ultra-processed products designed for shelf life rather than nutrition. Today, over 55% of calories in the US and more than 50% in the UK come from ultra-processed foods. Products typically high in refined sugars, seed oils, additives, preservatives, and pesticide-treated ingredients. Despite being cheaper to produce, these foods have not remained cheap. Between 1990 and 2025, overall food prices rose by roughly 120 to 150% in real terms, with many processed staples increasing faster than inflation. At the same time, foods closest to their natural form, fresh fruit, vegetables, unprocessed meat, and organic produce, have risen even faster, often costing 2 to 3 times more than their conventional or ultra-processed equivalents. The result is a reversal. Lower quality, more artificial food is now expensive, while higher quality, minimally processed food has become a luxury. What was once cheap and widely available has been replaced by food that is less nutritious, more chemically treated, and still increasingly costly. And opting out of that system now requires paying a significant premium. So here's the pattern. Every one of these things is widely experienced, long-running, easy to fix, never fixed, which means they're not problems, they're features, because the system doesn't care if you're happy, it cares if you're calm. Tired people don't revolt, confused people don't organise, people arguing with each other don't notice who wrote the rules. And that's the trick. No conspiracy, no smoke-filled rooms, just incentives, just systems that reward compliance and exhaust resistance. So if you ever feel like this can't be normal, congratulations, you're still awake. If you have learned something or enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing for more. The better informed we are, the better future we can build.